Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Brunner. This is normally where we recap some of the top interviews that we brought to you over the past week on our Eye on Northeast Kansas TV show, which you see streaming Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock Central Time on WIBW.com. But I decided to go out on a little different direction this week. Tuesday, September 12th is my birthday, and I'm turning 50. So I decided if I'm turning 50, I'm going to say a few things, but I invited a friend along with me to help me with this journey. Obviously, aging is something a lot of people, particularly women, kind of tend to struggle with. So Linessa Frazier is someone I've known for many years. I think she is one of the most positive people around. Linessa, I first met you because I was doing a story with a cancer survivor, and they hooked me up with you, and that is how I first met you. But you are also a mom, an educator, a facilitator, you're a survivor, you're a pastor's wife. As you said, there's a whole laundry list of who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kind of fill in the blank.
But you also are someone, you had a milestone birthday recently as well.
I did. I did. This is my 60th turn around the sun, and I am sassy 60 this year.
So I guess that would make me fab at 50.
Oh, fabulous. Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but as we were debating this conversation, I asked Linessa to join me, and I told you it's not so much that I'm turning 50. For me, it's how the heck did I get here? Right? You know, you wake up one day, and maybe it's because I work with a lot of younger people in what I do, but I don't feel 50. I don't feel like all this time has gone past. But as you know, the power of social media, as I see other people posting that I graduated from high school with that they're turning 50 this year, I'm going, wow, we got old. But are we old?
Absolutely not. You're just becoming more seasoned and and wiser, certainly. But when you think about 50, I remember when I hit the milestone of 50, and I always equated 50 as a younger person as wow, that's a half century. But it, you don't feel that way when you reach that milestone. So you are not alone there because I used to equate, becoming older with is not what the reality is for it for me. And it sounds like you're in that same situation.
What did you think when you realized, oh, this birthday is going to be 60?
I thought, what kind of party can I plan? Because we've got to blow this puppy out.
You know, I feel sometimes like aging shouldn't be celebrated. And it's bizarre because, you know, in the TV news world, when you're first starting out, when you're, 20 something, I used to laugh and say, when I was in my 20s, all I wanted to do was make myself look older, make myself sound older. And then I hit 30 and suddenly the hair got longer and blonder because then suddenly, and that was at 30, you were thinking you needed to make yourself seem younger. At 30, and oh my goodness, that seems like a lifetime ago. And now I'm thinking, do I need to act younger? Do I need to start looking younger? I don't think I need to. And it's not that the
Absolutely
sense
not.
of responsibility goes out the window, but I think at some point you realize that, you know what, I'm a woman, I am aging, but that also means I have knowledge, I have value, I have things to contribute, I've learned a few things along the way. But at the same time, every day I am learning from the younger people that I work with. I have a lot more respect for my younger self now, which I hope is translating into valuing all of those contributions that my younger coworkers make, but also appreciating the experience and hoping that they appreciate the experience of me. And for myself, my younger self, I appreciate the experience of those who came before probably more than I did when I was younger.
You know what? You're doing exactly the right things. I remember in my class when I was getting my master's, I was the oldest person in there. Well, I may have been a peer with one of the teachers, but other than that, I was the oldest person in class, but I took advantage of the younger people who were in there and actually did some reverse mentoring where they were mentoring me because we were all learning about technology. I mean, that's where we were getting our degree in. But I saw so much. goodness in them, and their level of knowledge was a little different than mine, but we were able to just share and similar to what you're saying, learn from each other. So I think that's important too, whether we are whatever stage we're in. I think it's important to learn from each other.
And learning, lifelong learning. It's interesting what you say there. How old were you, Linessa, when you went for your master's degree?
Actually, I was 50. Let's see, I was 58 when I graduated. So I think I started at 55, and I'll be starting at 60, or actually 61 since it's January, 61 for my doctorate.
That's what I was gonna have you share that. But yeah, now you're 60 and you're starting that new phase. Uh,
Exactly.
I think to my grandmother. So my grandma Brunner on my dad's side, she went back to school when she was in her late 40s or 50s, I believe, because she was fairly young when my grandpa Brunner passed away from a heart attack.
Mhm.
And she went back to school and got her LPN and graduated top of her class. And I'm inspired by that quite often because I think, you know what, if she could do something that really brave and courageous, especially if you think about the time that
Oh,
was,
yeah.
the era that would have been, surely I'm never too late to start something. So, how do you jump into those challenges? How do you get past that mindset that, well, gee, I guess I'm 50, life is what it's going to be, and it's too late to try anything else?
That great question, because I really had no I really didn't have an intent to go back to school and get another degree when I went back for my master's, but because I had started in education and I needed it, I was like, okay, well, let's do this. And it wasn't as difficult as I thought. And once I started going, I was like, well, shoot, this is great. This is wonderful. Why not go ahead and get a doctorate as well? And I tease my family now, with student loans and things of that nature. I was like, don't worry about it. I'll just continue to layer on and I'll probably just die out of this debt. So don't worry about it. But I am just enjoying the ride and I'm enjoying learning. And I think, like your grandmother, probably there with age comes experience, and with experience, when you go back to school and pursue that knowledge there, you bring so much more to the table with that, and it's not that difficult to graduate at the top of your class when you bring that wisdom back with you. So kudos to your grandma, and I mean any other person that's looking at continuing education or going back to school or just learning something new.
Right. Sometimes it's not just about education, it's just any new challenge. I think, women in TV news, and it was funny. I was reading some thread that there's somebody who's left television news and now has makes it a business to assist others in transitioning out of news. And she's a woman. And one thing that she wrote in a post this week had to do with, if you think you're going to be still doing television news when you're 50, look around. How many other women who are 50 do you see? And I thought, well, that's really a
Wow.
negative way to look at things because here I am 50. Does this mean I should be thinking about leaving? Does this mean I don't belong here anymore? I don't think that's true. I like to think that I've built a good rapport with viewers. I like to think that I like my job. And that's why I'm still doing it at age 50, not because somebody forced me out the door. I've been real fortunate, honestly. And I think, most female journalists in Topeka have been fortunate, at least in my workplace, in terms of being allowed to take on challenges. And we have had older women on the air in Topeka. I think back to some of the people that were working when I started out here and going back through the years. We're a smaller television market, right? So the fact of the matter is most people are going to move on and move on to other places. It's a tough business. It is hard to take on additional responsibilities that most people do in their lives as they get older. But certainly, I'm not going to stop doing this because I'm 50 and somebody says I'm old and don't belong on TV anymore. I
Well,
hope
I would
that's not
certainly
the
hope
case.
I would certainly hope not. And for the woman who threw that shade, shame on her.
She
Because
wasn't
you know
local. I will
what?
say it was nobody here. It's somebody who obviously didn't have a good experience at the end of her career, wherever it was, and she got burned
Obviously,
out. And burnout makes us negative. So I think we have to find ways to rejuvenate. And I think that's especially true as we get older.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. It's hard to think in that perspective because I know when I was in my mid 50s, I lost a job and it took a good year to find a job, find another one. And then when I did that, I went back at half the pay. And so when you think about careers and as we are an aging population, it's interesting to see not just in broadcast journalism and things of that nature, but any career, how we or what that trajectory looks like in not only staying with an existing job and or career, but what it looks like to get back out into the marketplace and trying to find a new job or a career. Sometimes that is tough. So I understand what she was probably trying to say there,
Right.
but I would certainly hope for you, Melissa, that you are not looking anywhere else, doing anything else differently anytime soon, because we want you here and we want you in this market and we want to see you on TV in the well, whenever you're there.
Well, and here's the big risk that I think is the good message that you're sharing and that I had to face here recently is going out on the limb and taking the new challenges, taking a new direction. So many people know that our longtime news director here retired. And so the general manager approached me and said, would you like to be the next news director? It seems logical. You know the market, you know news. We think you would be a good person to lead the newsroom. So my challenge was that I still liked what I was doing. I felt like I still had more stories to tell because that's how I've always approached my job. Nothing is about me. It is not about me. It's about our community and the people that we cover and the people who are willing to share their stories with us. And at the time I still had these ideas in my head, and I still do have these ideas in my head of stories that I want to tell and I want to pursue. But at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm approaching 50. Things frustrate me. Do I want to become bitter as the years go on? Or someone isn't offering me an opportunity to change those things that frustrate me. Or if I can't completely change them, make them better in a way that we're able to do, because you do learn that there are reasons why some things are done the way they are done or have to be done the way they're done. And so that's kind of what it came down to for me was, because our general manager said, arrange this how you want. You don't have to stop being on the air if you think you can do this. Scale it back how you want and arrange it how you want and make it work for you and for the newsroom. And so at the end of the day, I thought, if I'm going to not take the opportunity to make changes that I feel need to be made or make improvements that I think I can have a role in improving, then that's pretty hypocritical of me to sit around and complain.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
here I am on a new challenge as news director and still doing the 4 and still doing the 6 and still exploring some of those questions and stories that I want to explore. And having an influence on the next generation, hopefully making them better journalists and continuing to see the value in local news and sharing the stories of their community. But it's an adjustment.
Yeah, I love that though. I love that you were given the opportunity and even approached with the opportunity to do something different and someone saw the value of having you do that and then you going, "Huh, you know what? I can do this." And stepping up to that challenge and just making the absolute best of it because that's how you grow. That's truly how you grow, whether it's with age or within a stage. That's how you grow. And so I love to hear opportunities like that and stories where people have been provided those opportunities. So kudos to your general manager who approached you about that.
And it's nice to have the support. But to think that, at first I'm thinking, but I'm at the end of, I'm on the downward slide, right? It's 50. I don't have to change anything. I'm set in my ways. But I think that this is making me feel in some ways older and younger at the same time, perhaps, but that, I can, you're right. You can still grow. You went back for a master's degree. Now you're going to go and explore a PhD because you still have room to grow. Life never ends. If you stop living, then your life ends. And living has many,
Right.
many different meanings. It's not just your heart beating.
That's it. That's it. That's it exactly. And I am a proponent of you don't have to stop learning until you die. And then even still, you're probably going to be learning something anyway in a new realm. So
Right?
so why waste the time? Shoot,
Yes.
just go for it.
So, what changes do you feel like you made physically in your life, Linessa? Because that's a lot of stuff that people talk about as well. Okay, you're 50, you need to make this appointment, this appointment, this appointment. And I fully admit I maybe there are things I haven't always been the best about. But then I physically I don't think the knees really started hurting um until about maybe 45. Everyone's like, when you hit 40, it's going to be so hard to maintain your weight. It's going to be so hard to do XYZ. When I hit 40, it was actually pretty smooth sailing. I feel like I crossed that threshold great. Somewhere between 45, all of a sudden, um, wow, when I overindulged on food because I have no willpower. I eat, therefore I run. That's always been my motto. I can't deny myself the donuts, right? So I have to go for a jog. Um, but I did notice that, gosh, I slowed down. I did start taking, glyco for the knees to try and make them feel better. All of that stuff started happening. And now I read one little piece of advice today that was like, maybe don't run that marathon. Not that I've ever run a marathon, but I'm like, I don't want to stop running. There's a gentleman in Manhattan who goes to a lot of community runs, and he's 80 something now. And I'm like, that's who I want to be when I grow up. I just want to still be out. I don't care how slow I am, but I still want to be out here getting something done. What's the reality?
Hey,
What do I need to accept?
go for it. You know what? I think as long as you feel good and the things work, go for it. Now, I had to make some intentional changes though when I hit 60. And I call that my big girl birthday because I had seen people who did things and that I would look at and I'd go, "Wow, that's really cool. One day I'd like to do that." 60 became my one day. And so, two things that I gave myself for my 60th birthday. One was as a caretaker for my mom, and my husband was going through some things. I was like, I need to bring someone in house. So I moved from taking the HIT classes at community places, and I brought in a personal trainer, and she and I work with we don't do a whole lot of cardio, but we do a heck of a lot of weight bearing exercises. So I'm getting buff arms here at 60, which who would have thought? Who would have thought? But that was something I gifted to myself. Another thing, I do a lot of stuff and I want to continue doing a lot of stuff in the community and with my church and things of that nature. But I needed a clean home too. So I brought in someone who comes in and cleans my home for me now. And that was a big girl gift that I gave to myself. So my transition was more so looking at those things and going, oh, I'll do that down the road. I'll do that one day, someday. Well, today is one day, today is someday. And I am doing those things that are making my life full and that are making me happy and that are making me strong. So that's how I transitioned.
One list that I found that was 10 tips to age gracefully, and the one of them on that list is do what you love.
Yes, absolutely. I thoroughly agree with that.
Is it difficult to cut out some things that maybe you don't love so much, or is that part of growing up?
You know, actually, this has been something that my daughters have been more instrumental in with me than not. The things that I don't, or the thing that I typically don't love is saying no and setting boundaries with others. And we just had a conversation about this, and they were like, "Yeah, we're still working on your boundaries with you. We will tutor you around that." But yeah, saying no is one of those things that I am learning from my daughters. And that is something that has to be, you know, it has to be put into place for me to be able to thrive at any age. But yeah, that's kind of hard though.
You're right. I feel you there because the nice part, and it's wonderful, and I'm so blessed to be included in so many things. But there is at some point you look at the calendar and you're like, okay, I've got something every single weekend. Where's the me time here? Where's the time for my family? My father-in-law is growing older. We've been helping a lot more on his property, on his farmland. And that's been great, especially during COVID, when you couldn't do anything anyway. That's kind of when we started doing more and helping out more as he got older.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, you feel bad saying no because every organization is a great organization. Every event is a great event. But when there are, three things on the calendar already, for a day, you do have to say no. And
Yeah.
it's nothing against a particular person, but you can't do everything. That's been a
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
thing for me to realize. I can't do everything.
That's
I,
it. That's it. And that's just prioritizing. It's not well, sometimes it does come with age. I have to admit, sometimes it does come with age, but it's prioritizing yourself also. And that's something that I've definitely learned with age. Making sure that you're taking care of you and yours. And that's not selfish. I used to think when I was younger that that was selfish, but it's really not. And so, yeah, I take time, once a month to have self-care and emphasize me, but also my family. And so just know that time is finite. And as you age, those you who you love age as well. And you have to make sure that you're taking the time and prioritizing you and them as well. So, yeah.
how do you move beyond wondering if you're going to have regrets?
Therapy. um, Moving beyond having regret, I don't regret a lot. I don't take the time to not invest in people and things that I really want to do because as I said, time is finite. And I think the way not to have regrets is to determine what makes you happy, what fills your bucket, what helps you thrive, and really focus in on those things. um just making sure that you are just doing the best you can in the space that you're in. Actually, when I was talking to my therapist actually, and this has been several months ago, and knowing that my mom was, in a situation where she would ultimately not be here, and we were having this conversation, and I was telling her, kind of expressing regrets, as you were saying, uh, and expressing regrets preemptively because she wasn't gone at that time, but I was like, yeah, I'm going to miss this, and I'm sorry we didn't do this or whatever. And she was like, Linessa, your mom's here, why can't you do those things? And one of the things that really struck me at that moment was, she goes, what do you think you're going to miss most once your mom is gone? And I was like, I'm going to miss her hugs. And she was like, she's here, hug her, hug
True.
her. And I think about that now and I'm like, she was absolutely right. And I have no regrets, no regrets, no guilt, nothing that I didn't do while she was here. And so I'm like, you know what? That's a good philosophy. Do the things that you can do right now, make the difference that you can make right now. And I don't think you will have regrets.
That is an amazing sentiment to end on because yes, sometimes if I think, do I regret, I not necessarily regret, but life maybe hasn't turned out the way I thought it would when I was in my 20s. But then
That's
I
fair.
step back and count my blessings and look at the things I've been able to fill it with, and that the life I've been able to have. And there are so many more blessings than maybe what I thought might have been the direction 30 years
And and we are definitely blessed, and that's beautiful.
ago.
That's beautiful.
Linessa, thank you for providing me this very valuable birthday gift of your time.
And happy birthday, my friend. It's been a pleasure to be here chatting with you and talking all things 50 and 60.
Thank you. And you are a blessing to all of us as well. And I appreciate all of you for being with us on the podcast this week. Of course, you can always see the video from all the segments that we have on our TV show on WIBW.com. They are also on my Facebook page, WIBW Melissa Brunner, and our WIBW TV 13 News YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to that. Have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you on the Red Couch.